Russia is still continuing the war in Ukraine to get what it wants, despite huge losses and costs, while there is obvious disadvantages for its economy and credibility. And Iran is still trying to reach a deal with United States over its nuclear program. But there is still no positive sign, which is mostly ignored but probably could hurt their society more than anything in long term. So what is that? Let's have a look to know. Vyacheslav Volodin, Speaker of State Duma of Russia, said days ago that some teachers, university professors and celebrities who criticize Kremlin's war against Ukraine should be fired from their jobs and consider leaving this country. He said, "If you don't like it here, then pack and go." These strange words are familiar to Iranians who also have heard it from their state media. If you don't like it here, then leave. It seems many Russians are listening to Volodin, and in long term, Moscow would fill the void. Based on a report by Russian newspaper Komsomolskaya Pravda, in June this year, in the first quarter of 2022, almost 780,000 Russians leave this country and have not returned yet. You may think that in a country of 145 million population, this is not a big deal, but it is important to notice who are these people and what did they do before leaving Russia. Of this figure, more than 70,000 were IT specialists and programmers who have immigrated to Turkey, Georgia, Armenia, Uzbekistan, Serbia, and more. There are also reports that some governments like United States are trying to use this situation and attract them. Many of them were working for Russian IT giants like Yandex, but now even the general director of this company, Arkady Volozh, has expressed his plans to move it from Russia to Israel and also to move his specialists and managers from Russia to this country. For Kremlin, which is preparing to be alone for too many years before the end of the sanction regime, losing many scientific elites and professionals is a huge disadvantage. A first wave of artists, journalists, and other openly opposed to Ukrainian campaign of Kremlin felt they have to leave this country immediately or risk political persecution. But as the war goes on, more Russians are deciding to pack up and leave. The way migration works is that once the flow begins and people start finding out how to do things, get a flat, apply for asylum, find a job or start a business, that prompts more people to leave. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. Based on a report from Russian IT industry trade group, still 70,000 to 100,000 professionals are expected to leave Russia. This technology sector is one among several professional industries that have seen an exodus of talents from Russia's largest cities. There are also millionaires, investors, economic elites who, because of economic sanctions, have left this country. Names of those oligarchs, who many of them left Russia in less than a week after the war began, appeared in news outlets with details about where they live now. Just to name one of them, Oleg Tinkov, who was in charge of Tinkoff Bank of Russia. So they must have taken millions of dollars from Russian market, and this is in a critical time when many foreign investors, especially Europeans also, have left Russian market. To make things worse for Kremlin to manage, this is why they have been called the fifth column of the enemy by state news agencies. There is also a third big group of younger generation who are afraid of being called to army. Actually, thousands of Russians between 18 and 27 have left this country temporarily and won't return at least until the war is over, because considering high casualty reports of Russian soldiers, they don't want to be called to the army service. Vladimir Putin is already concerned about this. He said days ago that many of these IT professionals who have left Russia are already back or will return because they feel better at home and new regulations would help them grow their businesses in Russia. Based on these new regulations, they won't have mandatory army service and there is a zero tax for their income. But is that enough? The main problem is that they need constant cooperation with their foreign partners and also access to the international banking system, especially SWIFT, which, by the way, now is not possible inside Russia. Some of them who have left or will leave Russia are not inevitably against the ruling government or Russia's policy. They just can't live or work under this situation. As the war and sanctions continue, things will get more complicated. Central Bank of Russia have so far controlled economy better than expected, but there is high inflation rate and less job opportunities. At the same time, recent visit of Joe Biden to Middle East, which caused more oil production by Saudi Arabia, may also have negative impacts on Russia's economy. as energy incomes are a vital source for Russia's budget, as economic and financial perspective do not seem to be positive. In coming months and even years, more and more Russians will prefer to leave their country in hope for a better life and welfare elsewhere. Elite migration is not a new thing for Russia, and they have seen it in a bigger scale before. Following the collapse of Soviet Union, millions of former Soviet citizens crossed their national borders in search of better lives in new countries, in what was the biggest migration tide since the end of World War II. This trend could also cause more problems in Russia's demographic policy, as Putin have done a lot in recent 2 decades to stop Russia's population from falling. Iran also has a very deep and old problem with brain drain, as almost no policy has been taken by the government to stop young specialists from leaving this country. Some of these migrations are related to economic hardship, some to green perspectives of progress, and some are ideological differences between elites and the government. Between 3 and 5 million Iranians are now living abroad in countries like United States, Canada, United Arab Emirates, and Europe. Most of them are either investors and company directors or academic professors and elites. But number of Iranian immigrants are growing with fast pace. Based on a report in just 2020, and during the pandemic, while many countries had strict regulations, at least 1.8 million Iranians left this country. These numbers are insane. As the economic crisis deepens, most of university graduates think about leaving Iran, as there is no policy in place to help them stay and work in this country. So it seems that the more Russia and Iran are getting close in economic and political fields, the more their problems are becoming identical. And this problem is a good opportunity for their neighbors and so-called Western enemies, as elites and professionals which were trained and raised in these countries move on and go to work in other countries. As wrote Bloomberg, the brain drain in Russia is officially underway, and that is a threat for Moscow. But they should also add that the brain drain in Iran has been underway for so many years and is deepening now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and also to share your opinion with me in the comments.